everybody. Welcome to the Art of Living Well podcast. I'm your host, Liv Hill, and super thrilled to have you guys with me today. All right, today we are going to talk about fast food. School is getting ready to get back in session, and that is when fast food becomes a whole lot easier for me to do. Unfortunately, the girls play sports, and so they'll do sports right after school. We'll have these games. The games run, into dinner time. And so then you're coming home, on your way home, the kids are starving because they've been playing games and they're ready to eat. And of course, they're begging for fast food. So how do you make fast food work? I mean, sometimes as a mom or as a parent, you're like, you know what? You're right, kids, fast food it is, And so we're going to talk all about fast food today. The biggest, misconception is that you have to give up fast food in order to maintain your weight, maintain your health. The other misconception is that all fast food has to be bad or that you can't hit your goals while you're eating fast food. So we're just going to break all of that down on today's episode. We're going to give you some practical tools per usual, not just say this is what you should do and good luck. We're going to say here's some roads and paths and different ways that you can take. And here's some things that you can do on those roads and paths to help you continue to get to the place that you want to be on your goals. So we're going to break all of that down and more on today's episode. I will give a quick update for those of you that, of course, all that have been following along. I've been talking so much about my iron and my ferritin. I'm going to continue to talk about it because honestly, the more that I have shared with that on social media, the more folks have been just DMing like crazy saying my iron is low, my ferritin is low. So earlier, it was on Friday, I had an iron infusion. Never had anything like that before. So I had an iron infusion. They took me in, super, super sweet people. Again, I'll do a full breakdown once everything is complete and I get my final numbers and know how it all ended up. But ultimately, the iron that they gave me is supposed to be a one-time iron supplement or a one-time iron infusion. It's supposed to last 6 months, and it was like top tier iron that they gave me. So I've got the name written down. Again, when I do the full podcast on it, I'll go over all the details. But needless to say, that was just yesterday, and last night I was laying in the bed wide awake at 1 a.m. because I couldn't fall asleep. So my energy was so low, and so I'm so just grateful to see where it comes from or where it comes up and what happens with all that. So stay tuned, but it really did make me realize the amount of fumes that I was running on unnecessarily. And so again, I'm just going to advocate, if you are feeling bad, if you feel like you're running on fumes, we can draw your lab work. We can get in here, we can draw your labs. That way you get to the root cause of exactly why you're, feeling so crummy. And honestly, knowing all that I know about functional health, knowing all that I know about supplements, I can tell you guys that there could have been easily 25 supplements that I could have tried that wouldn't have touched anything to do with my iron and ferritin. There could have been B vitamins, there could have been magnesium. I'm not going to list them all, but there could have been so many things that I could have tried versus just getting my labs drawn, getting down to the root and taking care of it. So if you're feeling crummy, if you feel like you're run on fumes, if you want to take a holistic approach, you want to get to the root of the problem, we can hook you up with some lab work. That was the best decision I ever made. Instead of drawing something out for a year to say, I've tried all these supplements, I've tried everything, I've tried this, I've tried that, just go get your labs drawn, get to the root, fix it, move right along. So I cannot advocate for that enough. It was the easiest process, and I've had my labs drawn before. The other side of that is that everything else on my labs looked perfect. So I would have literally just been flushing money down the toilet, taking supplements that I didn't need to try to just randomly fix things. And I am so against just randomly fixing things with supplements that you see on social media. Like, oh, well, somebody else took this, so I'm going to take that. I mean, I didn't need, none of my levels were low. Every single level was perfect. And I don't say that braggadociously, but every single level was perfect. And had I taken supplements, I literally would have been just throwing money down the drain because I don't need anything. I needed one thing. So that's the hobby horse for this episode, and I'm feeling so much better. So excited about that as well. Okay, let's talk about fast food. Fast food. So you can continue to lose weight. You can continue to maintain your weight. You can continue to push forward in health and have fast food. So again, it's going to come down to understanding food. It's going to come down to understanding what your goals are. And it's also going to come down to understanding what your patterns are. So I'm going to talk about patterns just real quick. And you know that we also talk about mindset things a lot here. Anybody can follow a plan for a hot minute, but when you really want to make those long-term changes, when you really want to get down to the root of what the problem is, whether that be holistically from a supplement standpoint or from a mental standpoint of I've always struggled with my weight and my health, you got to get down to the root. You know that my phrase is you got to take the blindfold off. You've got to look at things and you've got to realize things. So what happens is a lot of folks will say, well, I'm going to go out to eat, but at the root, they want a dopamine hit. So when they go out to eat, they think going out to eat equals I just get whatever I want because I want that dopamine hit, or I'm just falling back into this pattern of out to eat means a really crummy choice. And so you've got to start there, and you have to ask yourself that first things first, because I can give you an hour of tools. This podcast will not be an hour, but I can give you an hour of tools. But if your mindset automatically defaults to when I go out to eat, I fail. When I go out to eat, that's my time to cheat. When I go out to eat, that's my dopamine hit. When I go out to eat, that's my comfort. When I go out to eat, I always ruin it. If you're living there, and again, people do, so that's not a dig. If you're living there, you got to fix that first. If you're living there, you have to realize and accept that that's your thought pattern, that that's your thought process, and work on that first. And these tools can help you work on that, but that's where you've got to start. And you have to really dig in to say, okay, I'm going to change that thought pattern some. I'm going to work towards that to say, when I go out to eat, I'm not using that just as comfort. I'm eating food just as I would eat food at home. I'm going to make quality decisions like I would make at home. This is not a YOLO every time I go out to eat. And that is very much a thought process that you need to walk through and just take the blindfold off and look at it. All right. So let's get into this. So so you're like, okay, cool. I get it, Liv. Either I don't think that way. Either I just go out to eat and I'm just, riding on fumes. Can't really make a quality decision, don't know how to make a decision, so I just get what I always get type situation. You may be there, or you may say, okay, I've taken the blindfold off, I understand some patterns, I'm ready to make some changes. Give me some tools to help me make those changes. So first off is really start to look for anchor meals as your consistent go-tos when you are going to restaurants. So what I mean by that is have some anchor meals at the restaurants that you go to. Now, let's just get real here. When you are going out to eat, whether that's fast food or whether that's a sit-down restaurant, you likely already order the same thing. Even if it's McDonald's. If you go to McDonald's, you're already ordering the same thing likely every single time you go. So you already have a go-to. If you're going to Texas Roadhouse, you already have your go-to meal. If you go to a Mexican restaurant, you already have your go-to meal. So you've got those in line. So we first need to normalize that every time you're going to a restaurant, you're not like, okay, McDonald's, like, give me the nuggets this time, but then the next time you go, you get the filet of fish, and the next time you go, you get the Big Mac, and the next time you go, get the quarter pounder. You're not ordering something different every time you go. Now I'll give it to you. You may have one or two options, but you're not just ordering willy-nilly off the menu every single time. The same with Texas Roadhouse, the same with Mexican. You have one or two meals that you always order. That's your order. So that actually plays into your favor, because if we can say, all right, my anchor meals, I'm going to work towards modifying those. And again, I'm going to help you modify those meals. But if you can identify that, hey, I really already have some anchor meals that I'm using at the same 6 to 8 restaurants that we frequent all the time, and now I'm going to work on modifying those anchor meals to make them line up more with my goals. That is going to be the first place that you want to start. So this will help you not feel so restricted. You're not going to feel like, okay, well, if I go here, then, I have to order something completely different. We're going to take your anchor meal and we're going to show you some ways that you can modify that. And if you can modify your anchor meal, then you're going to be in a great space, all right? So you're going to first have that mindset. Now, here's some things that are going to make some big impacts on the way that you order your food. So, for example, sauces. Sauces, guys, are killers. Really, that is the biggest calorie sucker or calorie drainer or calorie bomb in every single meal that we eat, whether that be at home or whether that be when we're out on the road. So anything that has sauces on it, that is going to be just a huge calorie punch. I mean, some of these sauces, even at Chick-fil-A, like some of the dressings at Chick-fil-A run 200, 400 calories for dressing. So you want to look at dressings, you want to look at sauces. Obviously, Mexican like cheese sauce is big, but even like at Texas Roadhouse, like extra butter, things that are covered in sauces, those are going to be things that just absolutely, can wreck your day because you're spending 400 calories. And guys, 400 calories is a ton of calories. You can eat like a whole meal for 400 calories at home, but you're spending 400 calories in sauces. So first things first is look at your anchor meals, start to look, can I do some swaps for some sauces? Are there some sauces that I can switch over to, that I can move away from? And you got to know how to read a nutrition label. So again, going back to like the basics, like learn to read a nutrition label so that you can look at your sauces. Another hack that you can do is ask for grilled. So again, using Chick-fil-A as the example, instead of the traditional, get the grilled. So you can get grilled chicken. That'll make all the difference in the world. So if you can get grilled, you can also go back to sauces real quick. I should say you don't have to forego your sauces, just get them on the side. So that's another thing you can do as well. With the whole dressing thing, get the dressing on the side, get your butter on the side. If you're getting, a sweet potato at Texas Roadhouse and it has like 2 big things of butter on it, get the butter on the side. So that way you can navigate how much is going on there. The other thing is ask for extra meat if possible. So like if you're going to Chipotle, even if you're going to a Mexican restaurant, ask them for double chicken. Can you give me my same meal that I always get? I'm going to get my sauce on the side. I'm going to get extra chicken, and can you give me some extra veggies? And so you can do some swaps like that. So let's kind of walk through again like a Chipotle or Mexican order. So you could say, all right, Chipotle, Mexican order, I want fajitas, I want double chicken, I want extra veggies, I want salsa instead of cheese. And so just by making those choices, you're going to have more protein and more fiber through your double chicken and your extra veggies. You're going to have salsa instead of cheese, and that's going to save you hundreds of calories just by doing that. And it's also going to keep you fuller because you're going to have more protein and more veggie. So you can also do portion swaps that don't feel like punishment, because if anything through your journey just feels like a total punishment, like this is just total punishment, I can't stand this, I'm going crazy. I mean, you're not going to be able to sustain with that. That's not going to last. You're not going to be able to do that for a decade plus like I have been if you are feeling miserable every time you go out to eat. So you can do portion swaps that don't feel like punishment. So again, let's kind of go back to the McDonald's situation. Now, I'm going to be full transparent here with this because you have to be. And these are not things that you may see with like most nutrition podcasts, most nutrition social media, but I'm going to always be very real with you. Like a Big Mac, you may say like, I am absolutely craving a Big Mac and I want a Big Mac so bad. And so if that happens, don't not have it. Now you can't have it every single day. I guess you could if you worked in the rest of your day, but if you're having your Big Mac, here's a portion swap that you can do. Instead of the Big Mac and fries, get a Big Mac and get the kids' apples that come on the side. So you're swapping your fries for your fruit. So you're still getting your Big Mac, and then you're taking your fries and swapping those out and getting fruit instead. Well, it's like, that doesn't feel like a punishment. That feels like I'm eating a Big Mac and I feel happy about this right now because that's just something that I want. That's something that I'm craving. That's where I'm willing to spend my calorie budget on this right here. But I'm also going to do a swap so that way I can still kind of stay in line. And that takes your meal, that takes 350, 450 calories off your meal by swapping out that fruit for the fries. You can also do some full sugar drinks, like swap those out. Swap, if you normally get, again, a Big Mac and like a soda, like instead of getting, the heavy soda, the traditional soda, swap that out for Diet Coke, unsweetened tea, sparkling water, bring your own water in. So you're getting your Big Mac, but then you're also like, I'm not going to put this all into a sugary drink. I'm going to make some swaps there. I'm going to have the diet, the unsweetened, the sparkling water. Going to make that kind of swap there. Again, pulling back what feels like punishment, and that's balance, and balance is achievable. You can also do things like, if you're really wanting a dessert, just keep a protein bar in your bag. And so then I'm going to get the Big Mac, but instead of getting the ice cream cone that I normally get, or the hot fudge sundae, I mean, you guys, this is real life. And I'm going to get the Big Mac, but instead of the hot fudge sundae that I usually go all in on, I'm just going to keep this protein bar in my bag, and I'm just going to have that protein bar later on as my dessert instead of the hot fudge sundae. Now, this can work. I mean, I chose McDonald's because McDonald's is tough. McDonald's doesn't offer really anything that's healthy other than the apple slices. And that's tough. They do have the Egg McMuffin. And that's good too, but you can only get it up until 10:30, right? So McDonald's, I think, is one of the toughest places. But that's why I wanted to use that as an example, because even with McDonald's being one of the toughest places, you still can make it work on occasion when you need to. And again, when we're running around, when we're crazy, when maybe McDonald's is running like 2 for $2 or whatever they run right now, and for the family, it's like, hey, if I'm going to hit a drive-thru and I want to hit a drive-thru for less than $40 after a game, McDonald's, it is what it is. I don't love it, but here we are. You know, we're being real, guys, you know, and if you don't ever encounter this situation, then good for you. But most folks that I talk to do encounter this situation. So then you're like, McDonald's is the cheapest. We've got the coupons in the mail or whatever it is. And so that's where we're going. You got to be able to make that work. You have to be able to make it work without guilt, and you have to make it be able to work without you just completely blowing it and then feeling like you've ruined everything and then starting all over. You know how it is. The start-stop process is exhausting. So those are some things that you can do to make McDonald's work. Now, you can do this at any restaurant. So most restaurants, fast food, have the apple slices in the kids' meal. Ask for those. Wendy's has a really great chili. You know, get the chili there. So they've got salads. You know, start looking for some swaps. Start looking for maybe different anchor meals. So if at Wendy's, usually get a Baconator at Wendy's. You know, if you're in the mindset of, I'm ready to make some serious changes, I don't want the Baconator because that's going to make me feel bad. I don't feel restricted if I don't get it. Then swap over to a salad and say, this is my new anchor meal. And so when we go to Wendy's, I already know what I'm getting. I've already created a new anchor meal there, and that's what I'm going to get. And you can have one or two. So like at Wendy's, you could have a salad, or at Wendy's, you could have a chili and a baked potato. Both of those are great meal options. So when you start building new or swapped anchor meals at those 6 to 8 restaurants that you go to all the time, you're making some new choices. They still can line up with things that you currently like, just making some swaps, making some hacks, and then you've got all these restaurants that you go to all the time, and you've got food that you can enjoy there. And that is what is going to allow you to have sustainability for the long term. It is not sustainable if you are currently eating out 5 to 6 days a week and you try to go down to 0. It's not sustainable. Your lifestyle is not going to go from 6 to 0. Now, it might, over the course of 5 years, or 3 years, you might get to the place to where it just doesn't appeal to you at all anymore. But that's not going to happen in the first year. You're not going to just be able to turn that on and off like a light switch. You might, maybe. I guess I shouldn't say you can't. But there's a very low threshold that you're going to be able to do that. And so having some of these tools is going to help you with that. And again, keep some things in the car, like an emergency car kit. So maybe you don't want to eat out, but your kids do. You're in that position. You go through the line, you smell the fries. You're like, oh my goodness, I really don't want to eat this, but I'm starting to lose it. You know, have something in your car. I advocate for this all the time. Protein bars, jerky, nuts, high protein chips, Quest chips. Those are great. So that way you've got something that you can eat on. If you don't want to hit fast food, you drive through. For the kids, for the family, you smell the fries, you just about lose it. Have something on you so that you've got a backup that supports your goals. The other is the mindset shift. And again, we're going to come back to that. Like, it's not cheating, it's choosing. So we have to stop labeling eating out as a failure. It is not a failure to eat out. We live in a society where folks eat out. And so we have to stop labeling it as a failure. And you have to start thinking about it as these are the choices that I'm willing to make. These are swaps that I'm willing to make. And it's okay for me to eat fast food is as long as I am being responsible about it, as long as I feel good about what I'm doing, as long as I feel good that it's pushing me towards my goal. Now, if you get to the place to where you're eating out and you're like, coming home bloated and overdoing it, and you're like, oh man, I just ate 1,000 calories out to eat. Why did I do this? Then go back to the top of the episode, listen to it again, and say, okay, there's something there that I'm not addressing, because if I keep going out to eat and I keep overstuffing myself, and Liv is telling me and sharing with me that I can eat fast food, then where's the disconnect for me? And it's okay if you have a disconnect. This is why this podcast is here. Go back to the beginning and listen and say, okay, here's some questions that she asked in the beginning that I asked myself, and sit down with those and kind of walk through them. And again, you may have, 1,000 calorie meal when you go out to eat. You may have a 1,500 calorie meal and say, man, this didn't go as planned. That doesn't mean the next one can't go as planned. So give that some thought process too, that just because one may go sideways doesn't mean that the next one will go sideways. You just need to continue to work on having a plan in place. All right. So wrapping up this episode, really just talking about reframing those anchor meals, getting some things in place that you can eat at every restaurant that you like to go to, swapping some things around, making some switches, maybe the apple slices instead of the fries, looking at your sauces, looking at the add-ons, and deciding how you want to spend your calorie budget when you do go out to eat, and normalizing that 90% of society goes out to eat frequently, and this is a part of your fitness and nutrition journey that you want to be able to navigate successfully. Again, you want to be successful for the long haul. You want to have progress made, and this is part of learning that progress, all right? So I hope this was helpful to you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And again, thanks for sharing this podcast. You guys are great about sharing this. I appreciate every review that's left. I appreciate every DM. You guys know we have a ton of resources over on the website, livehillnutrition.net. On our social media, we have guides, swipes, fast food guides. Even over on the website, there's a fast food download over at livehillnutrition.net. Of course, follow me on social media. And again, thanks so much for listening, for sharing, for being part of this community. I appreciate you guys so much and hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll catch up with you on the next episode. See you later.